So good morning everyone, how's everyone feeling? Good. I guess everyone is ready, right? What do you think? Thank you again, John, for having me over to talk to the group. How much time do we have? 20 minutes, awesome. So, it's always interesting to come and talk to business owners and professionals. And as John mentioned that I also run a networking group in Colombia. So I just wanted to mention that today's topic is leading, coaching, and delegating. And I started this group last year in March. And I remember when I went to different business owners and professionals to pitch the idea of this industry exclusive group. And I said, I'm going to charge you $1,500. For a lot of people, I heard one thing. You are crazy. There's so many opportunities out there. Why would anyone pay you $1,500 to join a networking group? And when I heard again and again that you're crazy, the only thing I was thinking of is, tell me something I do not know. I already know I'm crazy. How do we make this happen? So, to cut a long story short, when I started the group last year in March, we had 4 people. And next month is our first year anniversary, and we are 28 people. So the idea worked. And in terms of how the idea worked, I'm going to talk about it a little bit in terms of leading something which is a disruptive idea, and how do you gain loyalty in terms of your own leadership, because that's what people are looking for when you're starting something new. Does that make sense? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So in terms of leadership, now leadership is a topic which you can just get everything under the sun in leadership. Everybody in this room has an idea of leadership. Someone says it's about connecting, it's about inspiring, it's about getting the results, and so on and so forth. So the first thing I want to talk about in terms of leadership is a client I worked with some years back. And everybody knows that company. It's called Pepsi. So quite a few years back when I had this assignment with them, when you have a client, you want to do your research, you want to go beyond the website and find out what the company is about. So I was doing my research on Pepsi, and I came across a very interesting story about Indra Nooyi. How many people in this room know who Indra Nooyi is? Okay.
Was she not the CEO?
Yes. So you know, right? So Indra was the CEO and chairman of Pepsi, and she was also in the news yesterday that she has joined the Amazon board. She's one of the 5 women to be part of the Amazon board. So I was doing my research on Pepsi, and Indra Nooyi had a very interesting story about how she leads people, how she inspires people. And I find this story very interesting. So when she became the CEO, she wanted to connect with her team, her direct reports, who are managing the Pepsi empire across the world. And she was thinking, I need to do something which is a little unconventional and also, just pushes the envelope. And this is what she did. Instead of just having a one-on-one, understanding the direct reports, understanding their expectations, telling them what she expects from them, she did something which is awesome. And this is what she did. Since she was the CEO, she had access to everyone's file, right? So she contacted the HR and asked if she can get details of her direct reports, relatives, friends, whoever they have on file. Okay, that's the first thing she did. So she got a list of a bunch of people. Someone wrote their parents' names, someone wrote about their spouses, someone wrote about their friends. In case of emergency, contact this person, so on and so forth. And the next thing she did was, she got their names, she got their addresses, and she wrote each person a personalized letter. And the letter was about thanking them for supporting this person who's working for Pepsi, and they're doing an awesome job, and they put in so many hours in this, and just a general good, feel-good letter, right? And she sent these letters to so many people. Now, as a result, what happened, that so many of these people, not all of them, started writing back to Indra. They said, we had never expected this from the CEO of one of the biggest companies in the world. Someone writing to us and thanking us. we're not doing anything. The second amazing thing happened because of this was some of these people who were working directly for her, with her, hadn't talked to their parents in maybe a year or so. They had children who they were disconnected with. So as a result, she helped, reignite those relationships for her direct reports. Can you imagine the power of doing that? We all talk about having loyalty from people who work with you, and we all come up with different ideas. But imagine the power of this. What do you think happened after that when she did that? Does anyone know? Any guesses?
They were happier.
Everybody raised to a different energy level.
Yes, they were happier, and the bar was raised, right?
Yeah, a lot, and more productivity.
More productivity, right?
Everybody wanted to prove themselves worthy of the price sheet that he dug people.
They probably were more open when they talked to her about what it really was about. She felt comfortable.
They felt comfortable, right?
Trusted her.
Yeah.
Loyalty.
Sorry?
Loyalty.
Loyalty, right? So some of these gray, wishy-washy stuff that we talk about are able to get you results as a leader. Yes, it's about goals. Yes, it's about objectives. Yes, it's about numbers. But some of these initiatives, which you cannot really measure, have a much more powerful impact than a lot of stuff, we look at. Does that make sense? Yeah. And also reminds me of, when you're working with your kids, you often get a letter from your, child's teacher, or when you go to a conference, and if you're lucky, they praise about your child, right? So the same kind of feeling. So leadership, in essence, is a lot of things, but I think most importantly, it's about connecting with people. If you can connect with people on a real level, they will do all kinds of stuff for you. You don't even have to ask for it. And that's something I think I've been lucky enough, fortunate enough to work with a lot of coaches and mentors who have taken these initiatives, which has actually helped me to become a better person. I still have a long way to go if you ask my wife, but that's another story. We will not get into that today. So that's one thing I wanted to actually mention about leadership, which is very close to who I am as a person. The second thing and the last thing, because I have limited time, I want to talk about is, as managers and leaders, how many people in this room have people they manage? Can I get a raise of hands? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, quite a bit, right? So it's not easy to manage people, lead people, leave alone lead and manage yourself. And one of the things which I come across a lot of time are buzzwords, management words. You need to delegate, right? You need to coach, you need to train. But what happens sometimes is not everyone is coachable. Not every person has the ability that you can just delegate stuff to them and just forget about it. Very often we find it the hard way. Hey, I thought it was important to delegate stuff to the subordinate, but they totally messed stuff up. Has anyone ever experienced that? John?
I just want to bring up the point that a lot of times people get promoted beyond their abilities.
Yep.
Especially in that corporate structure, you just keep getting promoted, and sometimes you end up like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And that's when you really start seeing deficits in some of these companies and stuff. You're just like,
Before you said something, John, I just wanted to mention what you just mentioned. There's actually a management principle based on that. It's called Peter's Principle. You want to look it up? So what it basically says is, all of us, we get promoted to the level of our incompetence. So you always invest. Thank you for sharing that. Yes.
I just want to say, when you're telling the story about Pepsi,
Yeah.
so when I worked in corporate America, I did a lot of boots on the ground, survey type interaction with employees, working on the employee experience. And I thought it was interesting, a lot of management would think that like cash awards, bonuses, raises, you know, that these would be a good incentive for people. And people appreciate that. And they also did this funny thing where they would go around and give people a printed out certificate. And what people actually wanted was to feel valued. And that's what that person at Pepsi, that's what the CEO at Pepsi did, is to make them feel honestly and truly valued. Not a token, not, hey, here's some cash, thanks a lot. But to feel like their input was important, they were respected, their ideas were respected, and they were respected as people. And that's why that was so effective, I think.
Yep, beautiful. Thank you. Yes.
I think also you have to, sometimes you have to get to what the root of the real issue is. I had a jewelry department, and they, when I was asked to appraise them, they were the worst people. I couldn't believe how incompetent the entire department was. But when I spent time really observing and had the opportunity to really get to the root of the problem was not the employees. The problem was the leader of the employees.
Sure.
The real issue was the way she led the group. And she was the one that was the problem. No one in the group was the problem. Once you got rid of the leader and replaced her, it was like the most productive group imaginable. They were willing to do anything for anybody if it was the right person. So you really have to put the right person with the...
It usually is that way, you know, majority of the time. Yes, Lee, you want to say
Well,
something?
to me, the problem is we want to think in terms of hierarchical power structures. And that's not really the way the world works best.
Right.
It's team, it's horizontal structures.
Right.
And people have deficits, but you sort of fill in for each other and make it work.
Right.
And if there really are people that are dysfunctional,
Right.
then you need to get them out of that team
Right.
so the team can function, which in your case, you have a
That's exactly
dysfunctional
what it
leader.
was.
Right, right. Absolutely.
I hate to make a sports cliche, but Joe
Why?
Flacco,
Sports is awesome.
the Ravens didn't seem to want to catch the ball for Joe Flacco this year, so they put somebody else in and kind of recharged the team.
Right.
And I'm not saying that Joe Flacco was untrainable, but maybe he had gotten to a level where training wasn't going to help him anymore. Or maybe a different type of training was necessary, not physical, maybe mental training.
Man, me and you are so in sync. I'm going to share something which will just totally make sense. Awesome. Thank you so much for your inputs. Now, before I share something very interesting on specifically to John's point, just wanted to sum up our conversation in terms of how everyone has commented in terms of how we treat people. There's one client that I was working with. You know, I saw that client grow in front of me, become $1 million business. An awesome leader, but even when you are really good at leading people, you also have a lot of peer pressure. So this company had a lot of issues with attendance. And what's really funny is that when they were thinking of making sure that people come on time, their mindset was always going towards punishment. So if you're late, you know, you'll get if you're late twice a month, you'll get your half a day salary cut off or something like that. And when I was talking to them, I said, okay, shouldn't that be the last resort? How about trying simple things? Hey, free coffee and donuts if you come on time.
Reward.
Yeah. So sometimes you do these simple things and it can make a lot of difference, not for everyone, because we always have those outliers who, if you do anything for them, nothing works for them. But the whole idea of leadership is to think of the positive things you can do, how you treat people, how you make them feel good, and understand when somebody is coachable or not. Now, coming to your point, John, and when I walked in, you told me that, you know, speakers always have their talk in the back pocket.
Yeah.
So I have 2 markers in my back pocket.
Boom.
So I'm feeling pretty good. So what I'm going to share is something which I've actually used myself to figure out at times how to go about the process of getting the best out of people, that you're not stepping on their toes, and also getting the job done. So the way I look at it, and it's a model that, you know, I've probably stolen from somewhere or adopted. If you want to look at people, the many factors, many matrices that you can gauge them on. So very simply, so that, you know, it covers everyone. let's look at when we are working with people on 2 matrices. So willingness, right, and ability. Awesome.
You are a consultant, that's a perfect 4-box grid.
Hey,
You passed the test.
thank you for endorsing me, sir. So let's look at that. So if someone is in this box, right, where do you think their ability and willingness is?
They're not willing or able.
Sorry?
They're not willing or able.
They're not willing or
They
able.
don't want to be there.
Yeah, maybe they don't want to be there, or maybe they just want to be there just to, punch in, punch out, make the money, and that's it, right?
Get the donuts.
Get the donuts, yeah? So, a lot of times, as managers and leaders, we end up wasting a lot of time with people who fall into this category. And I'm not saying that, that we shouldn't treat people nicely, but also time is of essence. So one of the key things when working with people who fit into this box is to have a directed behavior. So what that basically means is, if I spend too much time with people in this box on building relationships with them, I'm wasting a lot of my time. Right? Unless they do something magical, it's all transactional. Mostly one way. I know it sounds rude, but sometimes you have to do that. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Yeah? Okay. So let's move to the next box. What do you think of the person who's probably here?
Give it up.
What's the ability like? High. What's happening to the willingness now? Still low, right? Maybe that's where Flacco is, because he's spent so much time doing this that, hey, burned out, or maybe, you cannot teach an old horse new tricks, right?
Up there's expensive too.
Well, yeah, expensive too, that's true.
I mean, that whole grid is expensive. There's a risk.
Yeah? So what might work here with a lot of people who fall into this box is supportive behavior. I've seen it all, and sports is one example. I work with a lot of managers who have spent so many years in an organization. They've heard all the things they could. They've been overtrained. They have gone through, the seasonal fads or new initiatives. They burned out. But look, here's the key thing. The ability should be up here. But what's not there is their willingness. So this is a box, and this is where we can possibly work with people by supporting them. And this is where the two-way communication can take place. Trying to understand where they're coming from. Let's move to this box here. What's happening with the ability? It's off the charts, right? What's happening with the willingness? It's up. What should happen here?
You mentor in that box.
Sorry?
You mentor in that box.
Mentor. Awesome. Yeah. And that's awesome. You mentioned mentoring because it's different than coaching, right? And this is the box where you actually should just delegate. Hey, you know your stuff. You're competent. You have the willingness. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm just going to tell you this is what needs to be done. This is the timeline. Go get it done. This is where your superstars are. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, what's happening in the last box? Coach. So this is where willingness is right up there, but there's possibly an issue with the ability. Yeah. And this is where you coach. this is possibly what you mentioned earlier, that we all get promoted to the level of our incompetence. Not that we're not competent, but what is expected from us, we haven't achieved that level. And that's where we need to push. Last couple of points. Ideally, you want to take everyone who's in any box to go here. For some people, it's more difficult, to get to this box. But this is where, as a leader, as a manager of people, you want everyone to be, not everyone will be in this box entirely. Someone will be possibly here, 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 here. But if you keep that in mind, like in words of Stephen Covey, this should be the end of when you're managing, leading people, that you delegate stuff to them so they get stuff done on their own. Are we good with this?
Yeah.
Great. So this is it for me. Thank you so much for your time. As leaders, managers, business owners, husbands, wives, I think one of the best things we can do is to get our own act together and hope that people who are working with us, for us, are able to be inspired and take massive actions, which is something you will hear a lot when you go to Tony Robbins. Massive action. Thank you so much. Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone.